Hello everyone, welcome to Explaining Sales. In this series of videos, we will explore PowerShell, and this video marks the beginning of the advanced section of the series. I will still stick with the core foundational concepts, but from now on, I will be explaining things that's beyond basics, and today we will discuss the pipeline. We have already discussed the pipeline in day 5 of this series, so in this video, we will be building onto that concept and understand how PowerShell works with pipelines behind the scenes. So whenever you string together two commands, PowerShell has to figure out how to get the output of the first command to the input of the second command. So let's call the first command command A, which produces something, and the second command B, which needs to accept command A's output and do something with it. Now suppose you have a text file that contains one module on each line like this, and consider an example. I hope you are able to understand what this command shown in the screen is trying to do by now. But if you try to run this command will not work. And by the end of this section, you will understand why this doesn't work. So when get content runs, it places the module names into the pipeline. PowerShell then has to decide how to get those commands to get commandlet. The trick with PowerShell is that commands can accept input only through parameters. This is important. So let me repeat it again. PowerShell commands can accept input only through parameters. So PowerShell has to figure out which parameter of get command will accept the output of get content. This figuring out process is called pipeline parameter binding, and this is what I will cover now. PowerShell has two methods for getting the output of get content into the parameter of get command. The first method the shell will try is called by value, and if that does not work, it will try by property name. With this method of pipeline parameter binding, PowerShell checks the type of object that command A produces and then looks to see if any parameter in command B can accept that object type from the pipeline. Now let's see how this works. In the step 1, pipe the output of command A to get member and check what type of object command A produces. And notice that the command A produces string objects. And in the step 2, access the full help of command B and see whether any parameter accepts that type of data from the pipeline by value. Now let's get the help for get command and full. Now notice that the name parameter takes a string value and it allows pipeline input by value. But if we further read about the name parameter, this commandlets get only commands that have the specified name. The string object that we have right now are module names and not command names. So if we run, we are attempting to list command named microsoft.powershell.archive and so on, which is not going to work. Also, if multiple parameters accept the same type from the pipeline, all parameters will receive the same value, and because the name parameter accepts string from the pipeline by value, for practical purposes no other parameter can do so. And if in case you are wondering what we are trying to achieve with this, it's nothing significant. So rather than command, put your focus on pipelines for now. There will be more practical examples later, but for now it's important that you understand this concept clearly. Now let's try another command. So here is a task for you. Pause the video now and try to figure out what parameter of the get module command can accept the objects produced by get content and try to answer if the command will work or not. But let me repeat, the result produced by the command is not important. And I hope you found the answer. We already know that the first command produces string objects. Those strings are the name of the PowerShell modules. So now we need to find out if get module has any parameter that accepts string objects from pipeline by value. Now let's get the full help for get module. And if we scroll down a bit further, we can see that the name parameter accepts string objects from pipeline by value, and the help says this command specifies names or name parameters of module that this commandlet gets. In other words, command A gets one or more string objects and command B tries to find a module with a name in the string. So if you run this command and pipe it to get module, this should work. Now let's cover one more example. Let's pipe the output of first command to get member to see the type of object it produces. Get child item and get member. If we scroll down to the top, you can see that the type name is system.io.fileinfo. Now let's get the help for stop process. And notice in the syntax section, there isn't a single parameter of stop process that can accept a file info object. So the by value approach is of no use in such cases. If the by value method fails, PowerShell tries another method of pipeline parameter binding, which is by property name. Even if the approach is different, fundamentally what we are trying to do is same, that is feed the output of command A to the parameter of command B. So let's work with the previous command. Let's pipe the get child item to get member and get the help for stop process. In the following figure, notice command A has one property whose name is the same as one of the parameters of command B. So without overthinking, in by property name method, the shell is simply looking for a property names that match parameter names. That's it. Because the property name is spelled the same as the parameter name, the shell tries to connect the two. And if we inspect the full help for the stop process and look at the name parameter, help stop process, and the parameter is name. It does accept the pipeline input by property name. You can see that right here. But if we run this example, get child item, we see errors because the type of object that each commands deal with. Get child item deals with files and folders, while stop process work with executables. So in summary, even though the name property connects to the dash name parameter via the pipeline, the values inside the name property don't make sense to the dash name parameter, which leads to the errors. Now let's try one example that will be successful. I'll open my notepad, new tab, and add few lines like this: name, value, get item, and select object. Now let's save this and call it aliases and close it. What we are trying to achieve is pass this file that we just created to new alias command and make new aliases for the commands in the text file. Now let's import it as CSV, aliases.txt, and pipe it to get member. We see that we have two properties, name and value. And if we check the help file for the new alias, we see that the new alias commandlet indeed does have name and value parameters. Now to check whether the name and value parameters accept pipeline input by property name, we can type help new alias. The parameter is name. And as you can see, it does accept pipeline input by property name. And again, do the same for value parameter. and both parameters to accept pipeline input by property name. So if we run this, import -csv aliases.txt and pipe it to new alias, this works and we get new aliases for the current session of the cell, and to try them type D, and this lists the contents of the current directory, which is the alias for get child item that we just created. So for many of you watching this video, this may be totally new concept, so it's natural that it's confusing because this concept is kind of abstract, but it's super important to understand this stuff if you really want to understand the cell. So rewatch this video if you have to, try out the examples and analyze the output carefully and understand how the pipeline is working. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.